Hi everyone, Scrappy Kathy here with another edition of Challenge Accepted. And today's challenge that I'm doing, the primary challenge, is the Mercy Tiara main challenge for this month. And it involves using vintage photos, telling older stories, preferably black and white photos. And I've kind of resolved during this week's mini load challenge that I'm going to use pull vintage photos, hard copy photos out of the shoeboxes and let them see the light of day and get scanned on my computer. So this particular layout is going to be about my cat, Tophiel. Tophiel was a cat that I had at home. It's the kitten of one of my childhood pet cats. And he moved with me when I graduated from college. He moved with me from Lafayette, Louisiana to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I had my first job with Amoco Oil Company. And I had those of you who are my age will certainly remember the avocado green and harvest gold color scheme. So my efficiency apartment was that color scheme, and this was gold, harvest gold Formica here. This was this picture is of much more than my cat. There's this chair, the bar stool was kind of a ratty rattan to start off with, and after Tophiel got done with it, it was even rattier. This thing underneath is actually my stereo. It kind of this is a speaker, and there's another speaker on the bottom part that had the turntable, and I set it here. The speakers were at the right angle if I set it there, and it was wide enough underneath there to actually for the turntable to fit and for my records to fit. So this picture tells a million stories, and I'm going to have some good journaling, but I'm not going to do that on camera. So first thing I'm going to do, this is one of those, I'm also doing this to the Mind the Scrap Summer Challenge rules, and it requires wet mixed media, something that has to dry. So I'm going to use the best paper in the world for wet mixed media, other than the Mind the Scrap cardstock that you can get through mindthescrap.co.uk, I think, or check out the Facebook group or Instagram. Their cardstock holds up to mixed media very, very well. But if you don't have any of that left, this Vicky Bouton mixed media, this is available in the U.S. Mixed media paper is amazing. You don't have to put gesso on it. It's just great. And it seems to dry quickly. So this is the cover. I actually use this overlay every time I buy a tablet of it. I use the overlay for something. So I'm going to put that aside. I have chosen my color scheme because the only kind of dog and cat line of papers that I ever had was this, I think is a Fancy Pants design line, and I've used up everything except these 3 cards, I think. And I've chosen some embellishments here in my purple embellishment bag. This is something that, this is some mixed media I did earlier, and I used a die, a background die that cut those little triangles. So I might scatter some of those. It has absolutely nothing to do with the cat or my life in Tulsa, but I love these little birds, and the colors are there, that bright yellow and the kind of orangey and the turquoise and the black. So I may pick one of those. I have some turquoise glasses. I have no idea what I'm going to use. And another requirement from Mind the Scrap is that I have animals, and that's taken care of with the cat. The wet mixed media I'm going to do in a minute. There have to be stars, and I would have to say I do not have any stars at the moment, but I think I can probably find one. I have my wood embellishments right here, and I'm sure in these tiny little things there are some. I have some star bursts. Okay, there's a star. I have my star. I'm going to put it in with my sequins. You have to have 5 of one kind of things, and I carefully and painstakingly chose 5. I had this whole can of sequins that all look like they're turquoise, but they're not. Some of them are green and some are purplish. So I found 5 that were the exact same color so that I could go by the rules there. So let's get on with this. Anyway, this is a die cut. I cut it out of foam because it kind of stands up like a thicker, and it's just a stringy circle, and I figured I could layer that into the embellishment cluster. So we'll work on the mixed media first. I chose some Dilutions sprays. I was going to get fancy and use a mask, but I kind of thought that might be overkill for what is basically a simple photo, and I plan to do quite a lot of journaling, so I really don't want a lot going on the page. So this turquoise, I think, matches the turquoise in the card that I've got, I'm moving those a safe distance away from my spray, and we'll see what happens. So I'm really not going to get. I envision this as 3 splotches in a way, and the photo cluster might go in the middle with some things kind of, you know, coming off. And I need to leave. I've selected the alphas and actually mounted them on this Thicker's alignment guide so that I can have kind of a curved title here. So I need to leave enough room there and make sure that I use the yellow color here so that this navy blue will show up, and I might want to use the turquoise here so that the Call Me, the turquoise or the orange would do. Okay, so let's do this. Not a lot of artistry involved here because these sprays are just kind of their own kind of beautiful. I've oversprayed onto that here, and that's fine. I'm going to do, as I said, the yellow here. And then I'm going to, the yellow, there we go. And a little bit of blue got down into that orange. And as you know, those are opposites on that greenish blue and that yellowish orange are kind of somewhat opposite on the color wheel, so they're likely to make brown. I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to actually set this aside and let it go become what it likes to become. I like that there are some little spots that kind of got over on the yellow side. I like this orange. I kind of like what's going on here. I'm going to say that if let me do my little test here. That Call Me goes right over that, and the Tofio goes right over that part. I think that's going to work, so I will not add any more turquoise, although I kind of might like some another spritz up there. So I don't know what you think that might have gained me, but I'm going to do a matching orange one down here. And maybe I'll even go put some yellow here, because yellow goes nicely with both the orange and the green. So that added just a little more color to the whole page, and we'll see how that turns out. So while that's drying, we're going to assemble the photo cluster. And I have no idea where this is headed, but I've got my little pan of goodies here. I've thought about fussy cutting this out, and I think I will. I think what I like and what I'd like to use there, I think this red might not be my preferred part of this card. So I'm going to cut, well, let me just start going this way. I like that that's kind of stitched across, but I'm going to lose the stitching. And I have I violated my own rule. I never cut anything sticky with these stickers, these scissors. They are, they have my washi tape on them, and they're meant for fussy cutting only so that they're a smooth line. So let me just kind of cut around this lace and see how that works. It doesn't, I know that this this card came from that pet-related, cat and dog-related paper line, but there's not really any image other than this kind of little black cat in the corner that tells anyone else that. So I don't want to lose the black cat in the corner for a future page I might want to do about, you know, our black cat, Iggy. But this is about Tophiel, and I don't want to use that. I'm trying to think whether Tophiel was the son of our black cat or one of the others. I grew up in South Louisiana, and it's basically the entire area that I lived in is kind of a flood zone. So homes are raised up on pillar or piers, I guess, or I forget what they're called. Anyway, they're concrete blocks that hold the house up, and they actually form a little area in the corner where the things got. I'm going to just kind of rip across this like that, and that way I can use this part kind of sticking out from under a photo, use it as a photo layer. I may save these pieces for layers either on this page or another. Okay, so I've got that, and I envision that kind of peeking up like this behind the photo. And then I really want the sentiment here, no outfit is complete without cat hair. And because this was I've got this Meowin' Forever, and I want that to show. So let's try to have this, let's do it this way maybe. More to the middle, have this showing like that, and this maybe, and again, I may want to use this side of that card, so I'm gonna let that be a future layer, and I'll do let me kind of cut that off, because then this can go more to that side. And the Meowin' Forever, I'm gonna kind of cut that off so that it can come out at that angle. Okay, let me do this. I'll first anchor that because that's the troublesome part. Okay, now I didn't do that on camera. Let me get up here where you can see I kind of just attach that down there. I like this. This would be the next thing I'd want to place, and it can kind of go like this, or do I want it overlapping that? That's kind of, I like that. Okay, so I'll do, and see what I did there was, instead of letting this square corner overlap that lace, I stuck it in between so that the lace overlaps that corner. So let me get that down with just one little piece of glue. Now what I like here, I like this whole card because it's kind of, there's stitching around it, but it has these, I'm just gonna have to, I hate to lose these little banners. So let me see if I can fussy cut the banners and just leave them attached and see if I can overlap the photo with the banners. If that doesn't work, then I've maybe ruined this, but we'll see. Okay, so that kind of, let's put this back here. Okay, that allows the banners to overlap the photo. It leaves me an open place right here, and so that may be where this little batch of flowers needs to go, and that kind of brings in the red that that we were having a hard time explaining before. Let me do that. Okay, so I'm building this up. I've got a little cup of coffee here. It has a sentiment on it that I'm not, that doesn't necessarily work with this. And since that was kind of I had never drunk coffee before going to work, and this was kind of where I had my coffee pot. No coffee maker involved in this. Actually, okay, do I have anything else? This is a flower that might, this part of the photo is largely uninteresting, so I thought maybe I could overlap that. So let me stick the coffee cup in here, and some of this will be explained in the journaling where I talk about my first apartment, and you know, it's kind of an opening of my awareness of being on my own and independent, and you know, making my own coffee and doing my own meals and so on and so forth. I wasn't a complete novice at that, but let me, I don't want to cover up the stereo. I'm changing my mind on whether I want to use love. I wore glasses, so and these glasses kind of bring that turquoise color over. I've got a kind of bring that turquoise color over to the, so there's that. I'm going to use this because the name of the title of the layout is Call Me Tofil, which was very hard for most people who didn't grow up in South Louisiana. Do I want this love on here at all? I may overlap it like that. Okay, let me do that. Now, this, I thought, could kind of fill in this gap right here, but I'll reserve judgment on that until I get the, I put it on top of the sprayed colors. We'll see where it might work the best. Okay, right, what I'm doing now is putting foam on the back so that my cluster stays up. There are a couple reasons I'm doing that. One is that I'm reasonably certain that it won't be completely dry by the time I get to attaching this cluster for the video. So the foam somewhat separates the cluster from the wetness. Okay, let's bring this back over. I love how it's dried with the little wet marks. I don't like going over it with a paper towels because it removes that. Sometimes it's necessary, but I like it like this. Okay, so here's my cluster placement, and I'm going to press it down and push this off to the side. I think this would look great. Let's see, we've got the Call Me Tofil here, so let me actually apply that. With these, the intent is for you to stick them down and then pull the holder out. Actually, sometimes that works. With these small letters, it may not. So what I do is, in cases like this, is I actually let the guide kind of be held by the letters, and I take the letters off and put them back on, using the guide. And it's not a defect in the guide. Here, I think I've actually hindered the adherence of these by the media being a little bit wet. It's not too bad, but I bet it's coming off on my fingers. Okay, this is a lot more time-consuming and tedious than I had intended for the video, so let me move on to something else. I'm actually going to have to move. Look, I have some spacing to do here, and I really don't think you need to watch me do that. You probably have done enough of that yourselves. I'm going to put this telephone up here when I get those adhered. I'm probably going, I was maybe going to use this as a background for this, but I think this can kind of slide in there on its own, and it leaves me room down here for my journaling. And my journaling I'm going to type it up because it's so long. My journaling will cover up some of these areas where the turquoise got into the orange. So as you can see, my yellow doesn't exactly match this orangey yellow. I probably could have mixed the yellow and the orange ink and come closer to this, but I have enough different yellows here that this one just kind of becomes one of the colors of yellow that I happen to use. I'm not going to use this. I don't think it should go there. I don't think it needs to go here. So I'm fine reserving that for something else. Now my next question is, do I want one of these cute little birds? I think so. So I'm going to put one right there. And I'll one of these days make a whole video about stories about Tofil. Basically, Tofil lived with me, and he had been an outside cat. When he moved in with me, he became an inside cat, and but he definitely lived to try to dart through the door every time I opened it. I had a friend, I went out of town on business and had a friend take care of him and feed him, and he wasn't quick enough and Tofil got out. Long story short, Tofil made the acquaintance of a female kitty in another section of the apartment complex I lived in, and they became really good friends, and they visit. I became friends with her mom, and when I moved, I was moving someplace that had another cat that might not have been great, but Tofil's friend's mom offered to take care of Tofil and to give him a place to live. So he met a girl and ended up living with her. We kept in touch, and I kept up with him. But he was an interesting animal, gray and white brindle, as you can see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry about the title. I'll fix that and put a final picture and do the journaling. Bye.